What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I'm one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, we are in season.
Yes.
We've got regular season, real live football to watch, to study, to break down. No more trying to analyze practice footage and scrimmage footage and preseason stuff. The regular season is here, and we have a tremendous game to review. Like two of the best teams in the league, a crazy comeback, the rivalry that's developed, MVP level quarterbacks. Crazy game to start the season for both the Bills and the Ravens. Crazy in different perspectives, depending on how what kind of fan you are of each team. But yeah, really excited to do this film room tonight. But as always, we start. How you doing? How you feeling? How's it going?
Like you said, I mean, you built it up perfectly. That's how I'm feeling still. I mean, it's Wednesday, and I'm still feeling the high from this game. And of course, we can't look forward until we put the last game behind us. So yes, we are going to be breaking down a bunch of film, primarily on the offensive side of the ball. But depending on how long we go, I got some defensive film. We have a lot to say on that side of the ball too. Most of it not good if you're talking defending the run. We do want to get to some of that, but yes. Grab your snacks, grab your beverages, enjoy this episode because much like the game, it's going to be a fun one. I thought this game was like a heavyweight fight, a prize fight. I thought early on you saw the Bills kind of play that small ball, keep it close to the vest, strategically, of course, strategically to let the nerves kind of settle in. First game of the year is always wonky, but I do think that as the game went on, they settled in. And that game flow, in many ways, as you'll see in the film, helped the Bills' offense specifically, and eventually so that they could come out on top. So I'm excited about this film room. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I knew, especially with like how many plays there were for the Bills' offense. I was like, oh my God, that side of the ball is going to take forever.
78?
Yeah, 78 for them, like 50 for the Ravens side. But then because there was so much run fit stuff, like the Ravens offense side took a long time, the Bills offense side took a long time. But I like your kind of how you phrased it with, the feeling out and the heavyweight fight early on. And I liked some of what the Bills did early on. I noticed it on broadcast, but then the tape obviously made it easier. Like I liked really on the first drive, the variation. We got some true 22 personnel, depending on how you view Reggie Gilliam. We got some 12, we got some 13, we got some pony, we got like some 22 jumbo on the second drive where Alec Anderson was the second tight end. I thought they did some cool stuff with, there's different looks early on from a formation perspective, personnel perspective, movement perspective. Even the second play of the game was counter with like the blast motion with Hawes as the kick out man and Gilliam as the lead. I was like, okay, it was cool how they kind of like poking and prodding a little bit and doing some different things before eventually all hell broke loose and they were like, screw it. This is not going. Let's just unleash.
Yeah. And I pulled up a tweet from our guy, Spencer Schultz, at Ravens for Dummies on Twitter, our X. And he said the Ravens have lost a turnover battle in 4 of the 5 games against the Bills and are 1-4. They have lost or tied the turnover battle in 5 of 5 games against the Chiefs. They are 1-4 against that team. And so he's saying that the Ravens need to win the turnover battle. And you wonder why McDermott and Brady came in with that offensive game plan that, yes, early on led to a couple 3-and-outs, but was, I would say, pretty conservative. They weren't taking shots down the field like I know a lot of fans wanted them to.
Yeah.
But it was all about settling in. As you saw, Josh missed Shakir on that crossing route when he normally would hit him. He was juiced up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It could have easily been a pick for Malachi Starks.
Yeah. And how, again, could have set that game in a whole different direction. And so I understood Brady coming out, trying to get not only his quarterback settled in, but also to get guys involved. You heard him talk about trying to get Coleman involved, but he dropped that screen pass. And so I know some of those play calls to a lot of fans were kind of frustrating, but at the same time, as I said, they understood the level of game that was going to be played being, week 1 against this team. On paper, I do believe that they're more talented on paper, but I think the Bills hung in there, stayed close enough, stayed in striking distance, and that's why they were able to capitalize at the end of that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate saying what I'm about to say, even though I think it's very true, because it makes it seem like a backhanded compliment towards the Bills or whoever plays the Ravens. But I really do feel like in these big games with the Ravens, depending on who the opponent is, especially the better the opponent, like the Bills or the Chiefs, it's almost like you just got to keep it close and wait for the Ravens to hurt themselves.
That's their MO.
And yeah, they just find a way to, what is a snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Like they just find a way, whether it's a turnover or a drop or some like close play that doesn't go their way and things kind of snowball from there. Like not even just saying it in hindsight, when that tip touchdown to Coleman happened, the first thing that went into my head was, if you're the Ravens, are you thinking like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, here we go again. No, we'll be fine. And then Henry fumbles. As soon as that happened, my thought was like, the Bills are going to win this game. Because if you're the Ravens, how do you not feel like we're cursed? Like, what the hell is going on? Especially after, like, you dominated that game. You almost had the Starks pick early on. Awuzie almost has that pick that Palmer kind of gives up on when it's 40-25. If he comes up with that, game's over.
Yep.
You're running through the Bills. You're gashing them. Lamar looks unstoppable. They barely have to pass the ball because the run is working so simplistically. But the Bills are still there, even though it doesn't feel like it. And then in the blink of an eye, tip, touchdown, fumble, and you're just sitting there like, if you're the Ravens, you almost feel shell-shocked. But if you're the other opponent, I think now you really have to sit there and think like, we just got to keep it close. Let's keep executing, because at some point, the Ravens are going to screw up and we can capitalize on it. And the Bills did in just a spectacular. It was like the Ravens were following the drought era Bills playbook in this one. I felt like I was watching Bills Cowboys, like Monday Night Football, that one stupid game that one year. And it's just like, how did you lose that?
Some of those bounces, dude, some of those bounces, some of those plays, some of those calls, like it was it was usually the Bills are on the other side of those calls.
Always.
Right? There's a reason why you hear a lot of fans say that's very Billsy.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So it was interesting to see it from that perspective and see it unfold from that perspective. And Jason, he says here, it is also interesting that the Bills coaching staff believes they will make mistakes, the Ravens being, and that they make game plans around it. It means it's truly a thing. Absolutely. And you got to think about it. For all the times that these two teams have met and the times that Derrick Henry or whoever has run amok that Bills defense and put up points and put up a ton of yards on the ground, it's still the Bills were always still in a lot of these games because of Josh Allen and how, when you're talking philosophically, you can run a lot, but it's much easier to score when you're passing the ball. And I think that kind of showed up too, where, the Ravens, they ran all over the Bills, 7 explosive runs. And when we were talking the ground game, but the Bills were still able to keep it close enough. And they were able to come back because of the play by Josh Allen, who we're going to watch a lot of film on tonight.
Yeah, rightfully so. Yeah, it really does, I think, factor into that overall game plan and knowing, who you're going up against and their propensity to shoot themselves in the foot. And this is, again, a pattern at this point with Bills Ravens. I'm even going back to that regular season game in Baltimore, like 2-3 years ago, where the Ravens were up in the rain. It was like 21-3. Bills came back. Ravens screwed up a bit. The divisional game last year. Now this game, following a pattern. And I think from a coaching standpoint, you just keep the belief and keep executing, and also maybe throw some caution to the wind and unleash your mutant alien unicorn quarterback and hope for the best.
Yes, they unleashed him primarily in the second half, but I want to start off with giving kudos to the Bills tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and even the rookie Jackson Hawes, or Spencer Hawes, as we used to call him.
I was going to say, you said Jackson. Good job. Well done. Well done.
We're going to look at some plays from this tight end room, because I said, after watching my first watch of this game on the All 22, I said, I really believe that this room has the chance to be very special, especially when your star receiving type tight end, a guy that was criticized for not being physical enough and not being strong enough, not having enough muscles, comes out early on this drive on this escort swing screen and eliminates a guy from the Ravens, drives him right into the boundary there, out in space. Very good play call, very good execution and physicality from Dalton Kincaid.
I love that we're starting with this one for Kincaid because we talked about his blocking coming out of Utah, and we've talked about it throughout his tenure with the Bills. He's always been a willing blocker.
No
He
doubt.
does not shy away from contact, even against bigger bodied, type of dudes, defensive ends, linebackers. He doesn't shy away from contact. His inconsistencies or his lack of effectiveness at times as a blocker is more due to how he's built from a size and frame perspective and then technique. So yeah, he struggles against, some defensive ends or defensive linemen or linebackers or bigger nickel type dudes, but he's always willing. And if you get him matched up on a true corner or a true nickel, he legitimately can mash. And I love the intention that he comes forward with on this play.
Mm-hmm.
And just he buries Awuzie outside. Like the finish is awesome. If you watch college football, Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end for Oregon, has been doing this the first couple of weeks. Like, this is a legit awesome block. Just watch him carry him through this play. He doesn't just hit him and know that Ty Johnson's by him. He puts him into the earth on this one. And that's just such a nice tone setting play for a dude, again, who, doesn't get known as a physical presence at all, even though he is a willing blocker.
And, we fast forward a little bit to the touchdown by Dalton Kincaid, 3-by-1 set with the ball on the left hash. And Bills basically running a version of their double China 7. Mm-hmm. And usually this inside guy, Dalton Kincaid, he can do one of two things. He can run to middle of the field if you have two safeties deep, a split safety look. But if it's a single high look, he can run this corner route to the pylon there. So on this play, because it's a too high safety look, you're going to see Kincaid kind of bend it over the middle. And as soon as he clears that second level, Josh hits him. But look at Josh's eyes on this play. Holding Malachi Starks to the top of the screen right there, holding him just long enough so that once Kincaid clears that second level right here, the linebacker, he can keep these guys on their spots and then boom, throw that strike. And it was one hell of a strike to Kincaid. But watch the ball placement here. Usually you hear us talk about, hey, you'd like to see the quarterback lead him out in front of him just a little bit. But he doesn't want to send Kincaid into trouble. He doesn't want to send a hospital ball. Look at the placement. He puts it right on him, doesn't put it out in front of him, and allows him to body catch it because, yes, here comes Kyle Hamilton, one, but he's now able to use his body to shield Hamilton and make Hamilton go through him to make a play on the ball or to, dislodge the ball. But it also keeps him away from Malachi Starks, where obviously Kincaid's direction is running there. Hell of a play, top to bottom. Josh Allen to Dalton Kincaid for the touchdown.
Yeah, nice catch through contact by Kincaid, and I honestly don't have too many notes. You nailed everything. The ball placement of him pinning it on Kincaid and almost forcing him to kind of like throttle down in that hole in order to have the positioning against Hamilton, but also have the positioning for Starks coming across the field. And if you watch Starks, that boundary safety who Allen is eyeing right here, just look at how this whole, like, Starks holds that line that he's on because he's watching Allen's eyes and he's got to respect the threat. If Allen looks a bit earlier to Kincaid or the middle of the field, if that gives Starks a couple extra steps, he's got some burst, he's got some closing ability, there's a chance he makes the play on the ball or a hit. And just look how close he ends up finishing to Dalton Kincaid when Kincaid makes the catch. Starks is right there. If it's a half a step or a full step or a stride, that would have made a significant difference potentially. So good job with Allen. All these little things that, he does, the eyes, like it's just so cool to watch because it really don't get talked about enough. A lot of it is like, oh, look at his arm and he's so athletic, but it's those little things, just that little bit. And then the ball placement, settling him down, throttling him in. It also makes you think, he did this to Shakir last year against Miami. From the shadow of their own goal line, like threw it in. Shakir ended up getting hit by Poyer. I think it was a penalty. Hollins was calling for it. It's a really nice job to protect your receivers.
Yeah, it's great work. And so we're going to move on to another tight end, Jackson Hawes here. And early on in this game, the Bills actually ran several looks where they had three tight ends on the field. Here's one of those plays. You have Hawes, the inside on the line tight end, Dawson Knox, and then Kincaid coming over from the right to left on your screen. And I really like the displacement that is created here on this mid-zone run, something that we've broken down many times. But look at that displacement.
look at the alley it creates.
Look at how he and Brown work on that combination. All right. They're working that combination, and they're obviously working this guy to Roquan. And as Brown leaves there, look at the hand placement and how
Yep.
Hawes is able to just wash that defender down the line of scrimmage. And there's that cutback lane for James Cook for a really good gain on this play.
Such a great block from Hawes. He really had several in this game. And obviously the catch is going to get so much coverage, but his blocking was really well done. And a lot of times it's on these bigger body type of dudes, like actual defensive ends or edge players or outside linebackers. And you hit it on the big one for me. The hand placement initially starts out kind of by that hip, but he doesn't let that hand get higher than the small of the back. It's right at the base of that 9 for Broderick Washington. You watch that hand slide up a little bit, but it stays there, kind of almost right in the kidneys, the small of the back. That's good positioning to help maintain that push, that leverage. And just look at the extension. Like, he is leaning into him, then gets the head in there too. Like, let's create 3 points of contact and wash that man down. Just really effective. And like, this is coming from essentially your third tight end on the depth chart. And we've talked about like the double team capability between Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance. Hawes, like that a 3-man on the line of like Hawes, Brown, and Torrance, man, the movement that you could create on that side of the ball. And then if you want to throw Reggie Gilliam in there too, like, like just what you could do on that side, man.
No doubt about it, man. It's going to be a fun personnel grouping and formation. Speaking of Gilliam, you see him on this play. Watch Hawes, Knox, and Gilliam do work on the right side of your screen right there. Essentially outside zone blocking when it comes to the offensive line. And then Gilliam is here to clean up this gap right here, this edge player. And I just love the timing between these guys right here at the point of attack, including Gilliam. Watch how everything is kind of passed off right there. Initial contact on that edge defender that's in that 3-point stance between Knox and Hawes. And then Hawes senses this defender trying to stick his nose in there. And so what does he do? He lets that defender go. Gilliam picks him up. Just the timing. And then you see Brown out in front, tossing his guy out of the club, Roquan Smith. Beautiful execution and timing on this play, on this pitch out to Ty Johnson on this play. Thankfully, he held on to the ball. He almost fumbled it there, but good blocking up front by the tight ends and the fullback, Reggie Gilliam.
Yeah, so well done on this front side. You know, this is that Zorro concept. We saw the Bills run this a couple times to start the year, I think against the Rams several years ago. Yeah, this is from that Shanahan tree where, you know, essentially kind of lets that tight end play a little bit aggressive against the edge or the outside man, knowing that the fullback will kind of protect their inside and take that over, and they feel off of that. And it's just so good on the front side, like you highlighted the feel, but all the individual blocks, like even Spencer Brown's initial feed of Matabike to Torrance.
I mean, that's a hell of movement right there by Torrance too.
Yeah, he moved well in this game. They pulled him a couple times. I was like, okay, like, you know, maybe you trim down even a little further, but that's a nice feed from Brown. Good job of Torrance being able to get his hips through, hands inside. In sync with his feet, turn, seal that man. Like you said, then Brown just moves on, chucks Roquan out the club. Knox is moving to make sure Wiggins stays outside. Gilliam, picks up Tavius Robinson, and then Hawes just gets on Marlon Humphrey, and Hawes can legitimately block like outside linebackers and edges. So Hawes getting up on a nickel or a DB, even when as physical as Marlon Humphrey, who plays the run well and is good coming forward, that's just a mismatch. Yeah, look at Hawes just take Humphrey for a ride. Like that's really nice, man.
Speaking of Hawes, in 3 tight end sets, here it is, 13 personnel, and this is right after a sudden change. So they got the ball back right here on the 30-yard line. And this type of thing happens and is called by offensive coordinators when there's a swing or like a turnover or whatnot.
And this was right after the fumble, right?
Yeah, this is exactly what happened. And so what coordinators want to do is capitalize on that momentum that what Ed Oliver just created. And so Joe Brady calls this shot. And honestly, this is probably not even supposed to go to Hawes. But Josh felt that, again, that energy from Ed Oliver and probably the fans, because earlier in the game, they kind of kept it the same concept. They called the same concept, but they actually played a little more conservative and just checked it down. But here you see the Bills run Hawes right up the seam. You see an out and up essentially from Dawson Knox on the bottom. And then right there, this is how like on point Josh Allen was. Right now, this coverage is very confusing if I'm looking at it from here. Right here, I can't tell whether this is cover 3 right here or if Wiggins is actually a deep half cover 6 safety because you see here's a flats defender. I can't tell a difference, but Josh can. All right. Josh could. And so he just throws that strike right down the seam and hits Hawes. And so it just really showed watching this from this angle how on point Josh was, how in tune he was to the moment and trusting a rookie, a blocking tight end to make this play. It took him a few attempts to bring the pass in, but just an amazing play, an amazing moment for Josh and the Bills offense, and an amazing moment for the rookie tight end.
Yeah, and coming to the line, setting the protection, calling things out, the play from Allen, the catch from Hawes. I love from this angle how wide open Keon Coleman is, even to the point of him being like, yo, throw me the ball. Like, you could see him, like, signaling, like, I'm so open. And Allen's just like, nah, bro, you got to ride this wave. Like, you feel what's going on here. Like, take the shot. And there's Keon Coleman at the top, wide open, settles, 0. Stark starts to go to the flat. Coleman's, and you could take that, right? If you're Allen, that's a really solid game. You keep moving the ball. You keep eating away at this comeback or at the lead that Baltimore has. And especially from now, like, where you have this frozen, the coverage perspective, and look where, like, Hawes is even with Roquan. So you really do have to have trust
and
that Hawes,
too.
You have to have the anticipation, and you have to have trust that Hawes is going to get to where he needs to be. Wiggins' eyes are looking, to Hawes, through to Allen. Wiggins has to turn around, do that speed turn a little bit.
I just don't know what coverage this is.
It's fair. You want to make the case that, like, Van Noy isn't the flats player, he's the cloud player, and it's, and the Ravens do get creative with kind of the things that they will do. And Hawes just rides that seam and, doesn't catch it on the first attempt, which obviously isn't good. But the hand-eye coordination to it, he like triple catches it because it hits him in the chest. Then he tries to catch it again. So there's one attempt. He tries to scoop under it and get it, kind of doesn't, and then gets it again essentially by his face mask. Like that's harder than just making the initial catch. Obviously, again, you don't want to do that. You don't want to double and triple catch things, catching on the first attempt, kind of play devil's advocate. But 1, here comes 2, and then it's 3. It's 3 on the face as he comes to the ground while there's a defender on his back, even though it's, Wiggins, who isn't the biggest dude. Like, crazy big boy catch for Jackson Hawes. Allen taking the shot, kind of feeling that moment and going for the throat a little bit and continuing to kind of keep the foot on the throat, even though the Bills are down at this point. Maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense from a verbiage standpoint. Just, oh man, that's really nice and good for Hawes. If he can just be anything, if he can just be halfway decent as a pass catcher, he's going to be so effective because of how good of a run blocker he is.
It was awesome stuff. And to kind of wrap up the tight end, segment, and awesome stuff, to be honest, from the offense, this end of half segment from the Bills was phenomenal. It was some of the best situational football I've seen from this regime and coaching staff. So end of the half, this is after that, really nice play by Josh Allen where he found Shakir, trusted Shakir was going to work back to the ball.
Rolling left and throwing back across. Nuts.
So 3 receivers to the bottom of the screen. They're just clearing things out. Ravens are in man coverage. So they bring Kincaid all the way across the field. And just the timing and rhythm and understanding of the clock on this. You see Kincaid run that deep crossing route, find the boundary. Josh hits him. 1 second left on the clock. Just, it's something they actually did last year. Here it is last year against Detroit. And look at Kincaid running over the middle versus Campbell and how he's running and pacing it. And really, there's not much to it, just kind of bending that route. And they just miss right there. So that's something they tried, again, at Detroit last year. But now look at this route from Kincaid on the right side of the screen. Watch how he stair steps this and how he creates separation. He's pushing vertically. Right there is the push off on Humphrey. And then there's a separation. Josh has all day, throws a dot, and Kincaid is able to reel it in, get his feet in. And then, again, 1 second left on the clock as the Ravens try to run off the field and go into the locker room for halftime. But just really good stuff from the team when it came to situational football at the end of the first half and also, obviously, at the end of the second half.
I knew we were going to go over this. I wanted to ask your opinion on this. Before he throws to Kincaid, Allen looks towards the sideline, and I wonder why, or if you have an inkling why. Like, he legit looks like almost and I don't know, this is a pure guess. It's probably not right, but it
So
almost
you're
made
talking
me,
when he's lining up for that play?
no, when he's about to throw the ball, like if you watch
Oh, okay.
the throw to Kincaid from this Ravens game, yeah, this end zone angles are great. If you go slow here, watch him look right.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so this is
Yes,
what he's doing.
he's looking
So
fully to the
he
sideline.
is trying to get this guy to
Van Noy
hold.
to come up. Okay, cool. That
He's
was my
getting
thought.
that guy to hold.
And it works. He comes up.
Yeah, because
Van
he's
Noy,
protecting the boundary. So
yeah,
they got these two guys protecting the boundary.
right.
And that's why instead of just like having one of these guys running out and run right into that guy, they kind of do this slower developing play from Kincaid coming from the top to the top of the screen to the bottom. So yes, that's what he's doing. He's holding this guy in place right at the marker. And you
look
see
at the
right
effect
there.
look at the effect it has. It makes him jump forward, which creates just a little more space for him to not have to layer that ball in as much. He can laser it a bit more. Yeah, like that's just really heady stuff. And a good call on the route, like from Kincaid. I like that he stems it vertical and creates some separation. Him and Humphrey were battling right from like the very first play of the game.
Yeah.
And again, Humphrey's legit. Like he can play inside, he can play outside. He's a good corner. That's a nice route from Kincaid to create that space. And then some good form from Allen. Step into it, rotate through, follow through. 1 second left. Yeah, it was, what was it? They got this ball with like 25 seconds left. And they ended up putting 3 points on the board. And those 3 points mattered.
They mattered.
They won by one. Like, and also too, from just, even if you're down by a lot, which they weren't, they were down by 10. This cuts it to 7. To just squeak out points in that moment is huge for momentum. And also, I think it's not to bang this drum too much, but it could be easy for, how people look at Sean McDermott as conservative. It's easy for them to just be like, you know what, we're down 10. We'll regroup. There's only 25 seconds. No, they came out to be like, let's try and put some friggin' points on the board. And they pushed the ball down the field on multiple plays, ate up yards in a short amount of time, and got 3 points from the end at the end of the half.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Just beautiful stuff, man. Top to bottom on that play. So let's move on to some of the other plays from this game from the offensive side of the ball. That play that started that drive with Shakir and Allen extending the play was really kind of the way the first half went. There weren't many plays that were flashy. There's a lot of like what I called hits from Joe Brady, where he called the same play several different times and Josh would just work the entire field and go through his progressions. But there was a lot of stuff that where the plays were dead. Josh was making plays with his legs squirting out of the pocket and whatnot. And you'll see that here. And I thought one guy that stood out for a reason that we noted coming out of college was Keon Coleman and his ability to win, especially outside of structure and, in these scramble drill plays. And I mean, this is one of the better plays when we're talking about that. Look how he works from the top of the screen. And again, as he's working against Wiggins and man coverage, Wiggins hasn't plastered the entire way. Josh, great work climbing the pocket. There's edge pressure, climbing the pocket. Look at that. And then just scoring out the left side of the pocket. But then right there, you see Keon turn upfield and then break it off, work to the sideline, flatten, work back a little bit, work the boundary and sideline for that catch. He stood out in many ways in this game. And one of the ways he's consistently won is in these moments when Josh is getting outside the pocket, outside of structure, making plays on the run. Keon Coleman was great when it came to that in this game.
Yeah, and it starts with Allen here, like you noted. You get pressure off the right side from Odafe Owe, number 99. He's able to kind of lean and dip and pull himself through the arc against Spencer Brown. Mike Green starts to flatten and get around. Dawkins rides him a little bit. Allen steps up, avoids, evades, and then, like the precision and the placement again from Allen. Like he's starting to load up. He sees Coleman separating. God, you're probably so annoyed if you're Odafe Owe. Like, look how close. So close to being able to just get a paw on that ball and deflect it, cause a fumble, something. But Coleman separates right here. It's a great angle on the run, rolling left, puts it right on the numbers, and good awareness from Coleman too. He knows where he is. He throttles down. He gets his whole body down on the little hashes there right before he gets to the sideline. So I like the spatial awareness. And it all starts with that separation, kind of the route after the route, selling like you're about to go upfield, breaking it off, knowing where there's open space and grass, how to separate, does it with a little bit of physicality. Obviously, he's got another really good play in the scramble drill later in this game, but he's been consistent. And I think, again, it ties to kind of more that basketball type of feel. You're in the paint, there's bodies, like let's get open, let's sell like we're going to the rim and then pop back out. That athleticism translates, and he's got a good feel. And in theory, the more he plays, the better his feel should get.
8 receptions, 112 yards, and a touchdown. 7 of those receptions came in the fourth quarter. So, again, Josh relied on him. Josh had, 250 yards in the fourth quarter. He relied on Coleman.
Crazy. You're going to be so mad if you're the Ravens. Again, the Bills put up 22 points. Like, you're really sitting there through 3 quarters as the defense being like, you know what, pretty good start for like our opening season. And we give up, around 20, it's fine. And then the fourth quarter happens and you're just distraught.
All right. And here's another explosive play, thanks to the brain of Josh Allen. Honestly, he diagnosed this perfectly. So let's take a look at this explosive play to James Cook, a cover 0 beater. So watch as this play unfolds. They're moving guys around. They're moving Cook and Shakir around. And you see the defenders I have marked there, how they're moving in man coverage with those players. You have to the bottom of the screen, Hamilton on a tight end Knox. You have Starks, the safety, on Cook. It's pretty obviously man coverage, pressure look up front, guys in and around the line of scrimmage. And more importantly, there's no one deep. All right. Mm-hmm. So cover 0 is coming, and Josh checks this play. As you can see here, he's sending those hand signals out there. He's calling a play that we've actually kind of seen in years past. So
against the Dolphins, in Miami.
And so here comes that pressure, right? And what the guy that has James Cook is right there, Malachi Starks, and you see him as Cook goes across the formation. Starks is likely thinking, hey, he's just going to block. Mm-hmm. They're sliding the protection this way, and he is going to be the end man there on the line of scrimmage to block Kyle Van Noy. But instead of blocking and keeping him in, they slide him out, and Josh hits him perfectly. And then James Cook does some work. Mm-hmm. He does some work on Roquan Smith there, making a cutback and makes an explosive play out of a pressure look from the Ravens. And as you said, man, this is something that Josh saw a bunch of when it came to those years where the Miami Dolphins would tax him and really bring a lot of that pressure. And you'll see it here in a couple of minutes right here. Mm-hmm. Singletary is that guy. Same type of look. Cover 0 play. Josh is doing work, setting this play up. You see him right there with the hand signals. This was 2021, I believe.
Yeah, this is the one they lost, that Heat game.
They leaked out Singletary once again. And so this was really good stuff from Josh and the Bills offense, and recognizing that, and the Josh with that mental, that IQ, that football IQ and memory to get to this play when they saw that cover 0 was just awesome stuff.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was that Miami game and us in the film room breaking it down. I also think they hit Singletary in the low red zone for a touchdown on it. And then the one that we just showed was like the second time. And then if I am correct, I think Miami kind of baited them into that later and shut it down on Singletary. Yeah. And this was just so well done. Like, obviously kudos to Cook for the play in space, but look at Allen just moving him all over the place. Like, Cook kind of steps up into that A gap initially, and then Allen's like, no, come back. And then he's like, nope, like switch to this side. He is directing him. And then there's that point, right? Yeah. Like almost. And
so
like,
if you're blocking over there.
Exactly. If you're Malachi Starks, you're thinking he's telling him, okay, the line, not to mention too, like you could hear it on the broadcast, but so you can hear it if you're the players. Allen calls out Lester. He's sliding the line to the left. So if you're Starks, you hear that, you see Allen directing Cook, you know the pressure look is coming. Everything for you, if you are Malachi Starks, is saying he's keeping Cook in to protect. He's telling him where to go and who to pick up. I can blitz safely. And Cook just replaces Van Noy right off the edge, and there's no one there. It's such, again, another example. We talked about the eyes earlier on the snap with the touchdown of Kincaid and the ball placement. It's another example of how Josh Allen can play this game cerebrally and how he's developed and able to play the game from the neck up. He does so much at the line, and especially in conjunction with McGovern, started to do it a little bit with Morse towards the end, but really setting protections and dictating, and that ability to play chess with the defense here has mattered so much to all the physical ability that he has. And again, that's great. And kudos to Cook on this one. Roquan is still one of the best linebackers in ball, and Roquan sees it. He peels off, doesn't really have the best angle, and Cook just chops down on, as Roquan chops down and just gets free, makes a play and almost houses it. Oh, that play was nuts. Like, just how everything presents from the defense. It's one of those, like, Allen is like, I know what you know, and like you think you know what I know, but you don't. And here comes this. It's just so well done.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the 7:16 mark of the fourth quarter. Bills down 40-25, 1st and 10 situation here. And this whole shot throw to Keon Coleman at the top of the screen, it really reminded me of Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis moments when they would run these type of plays, where the guy's sitting on Cole Beasley running that option route, the corner sitting on him, so he'd hit Gabe Davis down the field for a big play. This is Keon Coleman playing above the rim.
It's
though.
funny. I
went
pessimistic, and I thought of the whole shot that got intercepted against Cincinnati because he just stared it down too much.
So top of the screen, let's take a look at this. Kincaid in the slot, Coleman running the go ball, the 9 route outside, releasing outside the corner there. And the Ravens are playing cover 6 here. So to the top of the screen is essentially your cover 2 side of the cover 6. Cover 2 here, and then you have quarter, half, quarter to the bottom of the screen. And then this is your flats defender, hook curl flats defender. So cover 6 here. So just think to the top of the screen, they are playing essentially cover 2. And Josh is looking out there. And as Kincaid's running that little curl or hook route right at the numbers, that corner's got his eyes in the backfield. And just look at the anticipation from Josh. Look at him. He's already delivering this throw. He sees the eyes of that corner. He sees the hips. And more importantly, he sees Coleman, who's basically stepped right behind that corner. And
Coleman's not even looking yet.
He's not even looking yet. And so you see Coleman, who he is looking at, is Malachi Starks. Starks is on the numbers. And again, think about this, guys. This is the short side of the field.
Yeah, there's not a lot of space for this throw, and Starks has some range to him.
Exactly. And so Starks is kind of hanging out near the numbers, and Josh is anticipating this throw, which is very important on this throw. But I also love how Coleman throttles down, and Josh throttles him down with the throw and throws it up into the air so that he can high point it. Because a lot of quarterbacks, what they would want to do is kind of lead the wide receiver up the sideline here so he can continue running as he catches it. But of course, that would be trouble. Either Starks is going to intercept that, or 2, Coleman's going to take a lick. So you see the pace and throw on this from Josh Allen, and it just allows Coleman to get up and protect himself, go get the ball, and make that play. Again, shades of Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis. If this stuff starts showing up a lot more, if this route starts showing up a lot more, which I do think it's going to, because how often the Bills see cover 6, I think this is going to be one of their bread and butter plays for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and then you pair that with Allen having like the arm strength to be able to hit these whole shots. And if you have a receiver like Coleman who can go up and get it, yeah, that's a great call. Just him throwing Coleman to settle into the hole instead of leading him, like you said, that makes all the difference. If this ball is thrown upfield more towards the sideline, already where Starks is, Starks is able to break on it, but you see Coleman, as you highlighted his track there, he's able to just settle.
And he's right at the boundary already. Yes. Again, they're using all of that short side of the field.
Yes. You do not have a lot of room into the boundary in general, let alone if they're playing cover 2 to that side. You've got the safety over the top. You got the cloud corner underneath. And again, Malachi Starks is sweet. He still almost makes a play on the ball with the ball not going past the 40. If the ball goes to the 41 or the 42, this is higher chance probability of a PBU. Maybe it's an interception, but Allen just throws him safely, and then Coleman playing wide receiver like a power forward, go up, get the rebound off the glass. And this is, I hate to keep using this analogy or like comparison because I feel like it gets overused, but look at how watch Coleman go up and catch the ball. And as he catches it, he looks. He's making this catch. He sees Starks. This is very much like, again, a power forward going up, getting the rebound with their hands, bringing it to their body, and then peeking and seeing, okay, is the center around me? Is the other power forward around me? What does the trash look like in the paint as I'm bringing this rebound down? And so Allen allows Coleman to protect himself. Coleman does protect himself while going up, making an athletic play. That's just really nice. Really nice. As a defender, the first thing, too, I think of is like, if this was football in the 90s, Stark sort of ran through his ribs, but different times, and it benefits the Bills.
That is true. That is true. All right, so let's move on to his touchdown, Coleman's touchdown. 4th and 2 situation here, 4:05 left in the game. Bills still down 40-25, and this is basically what the Bills have typically run, and that's especially in the red zone. And the Ravens, they're looking and showing a cover zero blitz here. You see, again, guys up near line of scrimmage. You see the DBs playing, 10 yards or so off the ball there. And they're playing man coverage, but they're dropping 9 into coverage essentially. And so the Bills are trying to leak out. I think they're trying to leak out Ty Johnson up here. But you can see usually this is an option early, depending on the leverage of this defender. But 2 guys go with him, and he's taken away. And there's really nowhere to go. And because of the spacing of the secondary and the 2 interior guys dropping out, everything in the middle of the field on this mesh concept is kind of jammed up. And you see Evan Shakir, he's trying to set a pick on the guy for Ty Johnson.
They're trying to run that mesh traffic that they like to run there.
Right.
It does not work.
No, it's shut down. And also because of the DBs playing off instead of tight man coverage, it congests things and keeps everything in front of them, and it takes away everything else underneath. And so with 9 defenders in coverage, Josh is scanning, and now he's going to have to make a play with his legs. He gets outside the pocket. And once again, Coleman, once again, outside of structure, snapping off that route against Starks, going across the back line. And then as Josh gets rid of it, Knox, luckily, only gets a little piece of the ball. I think this was probably intended for Shakir.
That's what I think. Yeah, I agree.
But Keon Coleman keeps his head in the play in this moment, and 4th and 2 is able to reel in that play for the touchdown.
I just thought in my head now too, Malachi Starks has got to be so sick after this game. Like the drop pick early on, you got this thing, you got the one we just showed. There's so many little moments for him. I love just the progression of this. They love this, running back mesh traffic concept. Brady calls it slither. They've run it very successfully. They ran it for a touchdown early in the year last year against Miami. We broke down where Mac Hollins essentially made Jordan Brooks fall down as Brooks was trying to cover Cook. It works for them. It does not work here. This play is dead. You have 9 in coverage, heavy numbers advantage for the defense. Now you're also getting some pressure. Allen just throws it up, tries to make a play, and Knox gets a little hand on it. Coleman following it. And then now, it's no longer a spiral. It's a bit of a duck. So you've got a wobbling ball coming to you. It's easy to kind of drop that. I mean, not to bring up bad memories, part of why Kincaid dropped that ball against the Chiefs in the playoffs, because the ball was a bit of a duck. It was wobbly a little bit. That's not an easy thing. And to be able to play through this from Coleman after separating, putting Starks in a bit of a blender, Starks is on skates, he wipes out. Coleman does not stop. Shakir doesn't even stop either. No. So good effort all around, but be able to get to the ground and secure that securely. No movement, no ball hitting the ground, the hand-eye coordination, the focus, the body control. Man, watch the change of trajectory. And look at that. It's knuckling. That's a knuckleball. It could have bounced off his forearms. It could have hit forearm into shoulder pads and bounced off. He controls that thing as soon as it touches his body, brings it in. And then if you're the Ravens, you're thinking, oh, no, here we go again. Just
amazing stuff,
crazy.
Man. Again, one of those plays that you're just like, wow, that really went the Bills' way on 4th and 2, especially. So prior to that play, I want to set up our making it look easy loan auto sales play of the game. This was the play right before that touchdown, all right? And I want to highlight Kincaid. He comes across the formation here after the alert call here, and you're going to see Kincaid just running out pattern, right? You're going to see him running out pattern. Josh Palmer's running that corner route. It's a nice high-low combination that the Bills like to run. And Josh took what was there. He took that easy out route to Kincaid on this play, and he's able to pick up that first down. But you're going to see the play that we believe is the easy loan auto sales making it look easy play of the game was this play, 32 yards to Josh Palmer. Dawson Knox is in motion this time versus man coverage, and you're going to see a similar play here. He's running the out. Palmer is running that deep corner versus Jair Alexander. And now Knox probably would be considered open on this play. But more importantly, Josh understood the moment again and understood that he needed a chunk play here based on where the ball was spotted. And look how Palmer on this play, as opposed to last, avoids that disruption by Awuzie that is playing over the top of Knox, avoids that, manipulates his stride a little bit, stems upfield just a little bit inside the numbers to get Jair to open those hips to the middle of the field. And then right there, you see the stride there and the break to the corner. And more importantly, a dime from Josh Allen. Layered throw over the top of Palmer. Palmer smoked Jair. Josh locked it in with a dime. And just a big 32-yard play, swing of the field type play. And a play that once this was completed, I know a lot of Bills fans were like, oh, we do have a chance to win this game. Just a great play top to bottom from the Bills offense.
Yeah, it's 2nd and 10 right now at the Bills 34-yard line, fourth quarter, 53 seconds left, and Allen hits Palmer for this 32-yard gain. And like you said, like you could have hit Knox, and this is successful. There's a chance if you put the ball right, Knox probably gets out of bounds. Maybe you get 8, 9 yards, maybe even a first down. Maybe Knox puts a move on or goes through his man a little bit, gets the first or gets something extra. But like you said, like Allen understanding what he has right there. Like as he's looking at this, he knows, okay, that underneath defender is going to go at Knox. I've got the one-on-one.
He kind of did a little shoulder fake too.
A little
shoulder fake right there. Releases his hand off the ball like he's going to throw it to that out. Yep. And that definitely had a factor on this play.
And the stem from Palmer, like you highlighted, such great work. Like initially widens a little bit, works vertical. So now if you're Jair Alexander, you're thinking, okay, he widened. Now he's stemming vertical. Let me kind of get my positioning, stay square.
Look at him chop the hand down.
That's it for me. So it's the widening, it's the stem, the widen on the release, the stemming vertical, and then the stab and the chop bang right there. Cuts down Alexander's arm. And look at the effect it has. He essentially almost pulls himself through the apex of the turn and leaves Jair in the dust because Jair's trying to use that arm, that hand to slow him down and bring himself along with Palmer. And Palmer chops it down, gives him nothing to grab onto, doesn't allow Jair to obstruct him on the break. And then you just get pure separation from Palmer. And then the ball, like you said, from Allen, upfield shoulder, right into the hands. Look at that placement. And then look at the catch, the turn, eyes on the ball. Great fundamentals from Palmer. Is able to just catch it, turn, get upfield, gets out of bounds. That's just so pretty. Tying it in with the play they ran before, different result, same play later, different coverage, different aspect, knowing the down, the distance, the situation, the coverage that you're getting, and then to physically execute from just a great job by Allen and Palmer. Yeah, absolutely tremendous here for our first. Yeah, making it look easy. Easy Loan Auto Sales play of the game. We are super thankful that they're back again for another season here sponsoring the show. And if you do not know, Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. You can get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone. Start your approval at easyloanauto.com, and you could be driving today.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous stuff.
It's not easy. It's not easy. That's why we always love to pick the coolest or the hardest thing and be like, oh, make it look easy.
Yeah, exactly. And so that really concludes the offensive side portion of that breakdown. And I do want to get to some of the defensive stuff, but let's get your quick thoughts on the defense overall and some of the struggles that they had versus Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and that Ravens offense.
Yeah, some of it was really not good. I think on watching the film, there was more good than I thought there was going to be based on watching the broadcast, which was nice.
Typical,
but yeah,
too, right?
Yeah, typical. Yeah, very fair. But I mean, yeah, if you look at the advanced metrics, it was bad. If you look at the tape, a lot of it was bad. And I'm not trying to explain this away. I know several fans were like, they're 1-0, who cares? I disagree with that type of sentiment. But we talked about it a bit in the offseason. This was part for the course for me against the Ravens. They're a really good team. They're a bad matchup for a lot of defenses, but especially the Bills. The type of defense the Bills run does not mesh well from a Bills perspective with the type of offense the Ravens run. And again, that can be said for a lot of defenses because they have a ton of great personnel. They've got really good coaching. They didn't even have Isaiah Likely and Pat Ricard in this game, which could have made things even worse and even harder, which is crazy to think. But yeah, they pushed the Bills around. They just placed them horizontally, more so than anything. Not a lot of true downhill stuff to just place them vertically. But Box numbers came into effect, hat on a hat versus having even numbers and not being able to gap out and being short a gap. And that hurt the Bills at times. But I also thought the Bills were a bit sloppy. Some of their pursuit angles, but having multiple guys in the same gap. And it just felt like whenever the Bills screwed up, the Ravens were there to just puncture them. And not just for 11 yards. It was like 30 yards, 49 yards, 30 plus. And you can't screw up like that. But I mean, when the Ravens gift you some things late, it all balances out and you win the game.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. As big a game as Derrick Henry had, there was only 6 missed tackles for the Bills. 6 missed tackles in this game. All right.
Positive.
And you're like, yeah, that you would expect that to be higher. But like you said angles. All right. There weren't a lot of missed tackles because there were some bad angles to the ball. The Ravens offensive line, to put in perspective, they were getting their running backs 3.03 yards yards before contact per rush. The Bills on the offensive side of the ball were at 1.42. So 3.03 is very high. Yards post contact per rush by the Ravens, 5.17. So
crazy.
Those 6 missed tackles led to some big plays regardless. But I do think overall it was more of the angles to the ball were bad. They were half a step behind when it came to pursuit and leverage. And I think obviously Derrick Henry, a future Hall of Famer, he just makes it look really easy when you're talking running the ball against the Bills defense. But there were some bright spots. We'll kind of talk real quick. Ed Oliver, I thought he was, if we did a defensive film room, he would be the making it look easy player of the game for the defensive side of the ball. Great at the point of attack. Fantastic on the backside of rushes, attacking the quarterback. He was the Tasmanian devil type player that the Bills need, that chaos creator, that engine for the Bills defense in this game.
Yeah, he even had a couple plays against the run, even early on. The first 2 plays of the game, the first one is the zone run. He spins off the block from Falele at right guard, stops it for a 4-yard. Well, doesn't quantify as a stop, but he makes the tackle for a 4-yard gain. The next play eats a double team, gums up the front side, helps create only a gain of 1. Yes, Russo crashes down off. Russo reads the mesh point really well, crashes down. Ed that was another big one for me too. Like with how the Ravens ran the ball, and I kept noticing how much Ed was on the field. Like my first thought was like, okay, he had high variance. He probably got blown off the ball a bunch, but he also made some really great plays and would balance out. But it was not that for him. He just had a strong game from start to finish as a rusher, whether it was like true one-on-ones or as like a stunter on spikes in games and stuff, or against the run, holding up at the point of attack. He had multiple blow-ups, including that strip, or blows up the Ravens when they try to run power. Like the leverage he played with, the get off on the snap, the power, the core strength, just a crazy good game. And yeah, it was nice to see, especially with I like how you have highlighted here, like the flex front the Bills used.
Yeah,
they tried a lot of different things.
They did.
They were going 3 linebackers to match the heavy stuff. They put Dorian on the line. They'd have a 5 down front. They'd have a 6-1. They'd have 7 in the box, 8 in the box, sometimes 9. They did a variety of things, and it worked more than you would think given the numbers, but they still got gashed in some less than ideal ways.
Right, and I want to kind of show you guys because, all offseason, Anthony and I were talking about how we want to see some different defensive structures. We want to see them be a little more proactive. And honestly, they haven't shown this type of defensive structure all that often.
Yeah, so I just wish it had more positive results throughout the whole game, but this was encouraging. Usually they're just like, nope, 4 down, over front. That's it.
So they have 3 linebackers on the field, Dorian, Terrell Bernard in the middle, and then obviously Matt Milano. And you're going to see Dorian and Milano end up basically on the line of scrimmage on this play early in the game. And this is the formation I wanted to focus in on. And play. So it's a double tight formation, I formation, 13 personnel technically. And it's just an outside zone run. And Anthony, as we all know, right? Outside zone runs aren't actually outside runs. They're actually meant to bend back up inside. Yeah. And so the Ravens bust this formation and play out, and they did several times. And so I want to walk us through several of these plays that really ended. Obviously, the one bad play of this was the 46-yard touchdown, but this is early in the game. So this is all in order, guys. All right. Double tight, I formation, Bills in their flex front, a 6-1. And if you guys maybe like vaguely remember what the flex front is, that 6-1 look, the Patriots used it against the Rams years ago in the Super Bowl to shut down the outside zone run. So again, I like where this is headed. And so I'm early in the game, this is what the Bills were doing. The Ravens are running the outside zone to the right here, and they run a nice gap exchange. So you're having the D tackle and DN spike inside, and Terrell Bernard's playing over the top, being that C gap player, something they do a bunch of, but this is from a different defensive structure. And you see Bernard come up, blow up that lead blocker, and then Benford sticks his nose in there, who he did for most of the day, did a great job in the run defensive stand of things, and he did a great job bringing down Henry there. So really nice gap exchange there in the 6-1 front. A little bit later in the game, same formation, same play. You're seeing it now on the right side once again. D tackle, DN, slant inside. Here comes Bernard outside, and then the run cuts back up inside. Rousseau is there to minimize that play. And so now, instead of a 6-1 front, the Bills, against this formation and this play, run a 4-3 over. So they got their 3 linebackers in, and as the ball's running out here on the left side of your screen, Sanders does a good job initially getting contact on those offensive linemen, and Dorian, like a missile, shoots this gap and makes a play in the backfield. Deion Walker at the point of attack, doing a good job holding that at the point of attack. Very good work versus this inside zone run until later in the game. Now you see Dorian on the line of scrimmage here. Milano's off, but on this play, instead of like you saw early in the game where they ran the gap exchange here, and that was Bernard, well, they don't run it to the opposite side. Now, when the Ravens are now running it to this side, the Bills don't have the proper play call to shut this down. You see a nice big bubble right here.
Bubble.
Yeah, being played by no one, because you're going to see the safety go ahead and spin to the post. And people are going to be like, well, why is he running away? God. Well, he's running away to the post because, again, he has primarily pass responsibilities first.
Yes.
And instead of sending Milano off the edge here, what they did is they still ran that gap exchange, but it was the corner coming off, which means that takes this guy and he has to replace that corner. So he's not that secondary fill run defender here, as you'll see. And that means Terrell Bernard's stuck. All right. As these guys are getting washed out this way and the plays cut off on the backside here, these guys are all out. That secondary run defender that you saw early in the first couple of plays was Taylor Rapp. Now there's no one there, which means now Terrell Bernard is on an island by himself. And as Henry cuts it back, obviously, boom, you're going to be wrong. And then it's off to the races with a bad angle from Rapp because he was spinning to the post and a touchdown. So again, it was interesting to see some of the wrinkles that they had early in the game. And this is even after. This time, they bring Bernard in that A gap to occupy the center, and they blow this play up, right, guys? Again, same play. But it's just interesting because for most of this game, Bills fans are like, man, they couldn't defend the run. They weren't doing anything. They didn't make any changes. They actually played it really well. But all it takes with Derrick Henry is a little space and one play, and he could put big points up.
Yeah, I focused on the run defense for disguise coverage this weekend. And for this week, and it sounded like I said weekend. That doesn't really make sense. And again, it wasn't an ideal performance from a run defense standpoint, but I came away thinking like, oh my God, this is terrible. I came into it thinking this is terrible. And I came away from the tape going, like I'm still not pleased, but I was happier than I thought I was going to be. Yeah, for week one. And stuff like this first play is probably my favorite just because it ties into so much of what we talked about. Like if you are going to play with smaller guys on the interior or on the defensive line, and you're not going to go for these like space eaters and gap pluggers, like you can still do different things. And having these run stunts, these scrape exchanges, they can be effective. And I love this one just because it changes the math immediately. Like you have 7 in the box, 8-ish kind of, if you want to count Benford, but there's 8 blockers. So you are at a disadvantage, but the math changes because that spike from Sanders occupies 2. And then Solomon takes the right tackle inside. So now you've got 3 blockers for 2 Bills. Exactly. Gums the whole thing up. And then Bernard's angle here, I love. Obviously, he just meets the fullback head on and blows him up, but he plays it more from an inside perspective because he knows Benford is going to fit from that outside spot and inserts himself while Milano was holding as the force. And then a great tackle from Bernard. Oh, I said this last night. Like, it pisses me off that there's 2 Dorians and one's 42, one's 43. And then Benford and Bernard, like I'm messing up names nonstop. We got Spencer Hawes and Jackson and all of that. But yeah, that was a great fit from Benford. And there was more positive, I think, than will get talked about in this game They still do have a lot of work and some cleanup stuff, but they did not just, this was not like prior years where it was like they just kept playing 4 down over front nickel and kept getting waxed. Like that's not what happened in this game. They had their struggles, but they did do different things.
Absolutely. And I talked about not having that secondary run defender in Cole Bishop because he had to go replace the corner out wide. Again, I'll show you. So now the ball's going to the right side of the screen and you see the cutback happen. Obviously Bernard's going to the ball. Rousseau spiked inside.
But there's
and
Rapp
this is
to
your
fill in
secondary.
from the backside. Yeah.
Yes, this is your secondary run defender. And so that play call on the 46-yard touchdown, you see Rapp come in there late to get a piece of Henry. That play call of sending the corner instead of sending the outside linebacker really killed them. It really killed them on the cutback here because it really left Bernard on an island instead of sending this guy and having that safety right here to come fill behind Bernard. There's just too much space as everyone's getting displaced out wide right here and then getting cut on the backside. There's no one to help fill that secondary run defense gap. And now that's why Derrick Henry's off to the races. So while a lot of people want to point to the players here, Bernard, Daquan Jones, I heard some TJ Sanders talk here. I think this is a coaching call. I think what happened is Monken said, you know what, we're running to the wide side of the field when we are trying to get this outside zone play, and they're running that exchange, and it's blowing things up. And so he said, you know what, let's try running it to the short side of the field and see if they have a plan to the bubble here. And the Bills didn't. And actually the play call is what really screwed them up here because now they have no one to fill this secondary spot here. And it obviously ended badly for the Bills. You see Derrick Henry take it to the house for a 46-yard touchdown. And it was nice to see. I know they gave up a lot of yards. There's no denying that. They gave up a lot of yards to Derrick Henry. And the run defense has a long way to go. All right. But when you add the context of Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, how they are able to beat you with speed, beat you with power, beat you with whatever, cut your defense in half, like you can see there. It's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it is week 1. I did like their plan. I like their plan using that 6-1 flex front. I like some of the 3 linebacker 4-3 stuff. Mm-hmm. You saw Dorian Williams shoot that gap and blow up that play. But again, it doesn't take much. It takes one little screw up, one little bad call, and Derrick Henry can take it to the house for 6. So there's some promise there. We wanted to see how Babbage would adjust, how Ryan Nielsen would inject some of his techniques and defensive structures from his time in New Orleans and things like that and in Atlanta. And I think we saw some of it. I do think we saw some of it. I'm just interested to see how that plan on that play when they had the gap exchange on one side. My question is, why weren't they running or having the option to run it on the other side as well to the short side of the field? Why don't they have some kind of exchange they can run there, processing, pre to post snap so that they could get Bernard free because on that side, they didn't have the numbers, first of all, and they didn't have the angles because they weren't running that gap exchange. And so it'll be interesting to see, and we're going to see it this coming week. The Jets are going to run this stuff.
Yep.
They're going to run this stuff.
This is a great, if you have concerns about the run defense, this is a great follow-up week for the Bills.
Yes. And you're going to have a home run hitter, and my guy.
I would say your boy, Brees.
And then you have a monster of a tailback, Braylon Allen. So, and
then you got a quarterback who isn't Lamar, but is also a crazy good athlete and good runner.
Yeah. So, guys, I get it. The defense left a lot to be desired, but there were some promising things. As Anthony said, once we got to the film, it wasn't all doom and gloom, but there are some things that, they need to fix. And there are some good learning points and coaching points for the defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have too much to add in that regard. The only thing I really wanted to speak on again before we kind of wind down, you talked about Bishop and Rapp, and you gave the example of like primarily being a coverage defender. And we've said it before, but I think this game was a really good example. The coverage structure determines the run fits and how your guys play the run. I saw this a lot. I saw it on the comment I'm about to bring up was brought up on that play. Like, oh, well, why is Rapp dropping on this run? He should be coming up and seeing Henry immediately. The other one I saw a ton of was the first touchdown to Henry where he stiff arms Bishop to the ground and kind of dribbles him off the turf. Bishop initially is on the line and then drops. And everybody was like, what is he like? Why is he dropping? What is he doing? Because he's the post player on that play. Like, that's his responsibility. The coverage structure on the back end determines the front. And especially with how the Bills like to disguise, you might have somebody in the box or around the line, but guess what? They're not primarily in the run fit. They're a coverage player first and foremost. And especially if you're a single high safety, that middle of the field post safety, you are a post player first and foremost. And then you fit the run off of that. I think that's a huge piece that came out of this game. A lot of comments that I kept seeing like yelled at me on social was for guys of being like, oh, there's a motorcycle.
There it is.
Through this episode
can't get through one episode without that motorcycle. I love it.
Friggin' bike. Son of just the coverage structure. And it goes so much more than just, I think people now have gotten in tune to a little bit of like, oh, if you've got two high safeties, that means there's less numbers in the box. I think a lot of fans have kind of understood that now, but it goes further than that in terms of spacing and fit and gap assignments and numbers and responsibilities and tying all of that into coverage. And so that's why you're seeing a lot of those things. And then to Erik, to your point, like if you're spinning the safety from the wrong side at the wrong time and you get caught out, that changes angles, that changes those fit and fold players, that changes what you're able to spill. And if the numbers aren't in your advantage at that same time, or somebody doesn't win up front, everything can spiral in a hurry and get in your way. And I think the good news is with it, so a lot of the pieces that were a problem in this game, I think to your point, a good chunk were schematic. You can fix schematic. You can work on schematic. It's not like, well, the dudes suck or they're just getting blown off. They're not ready, like yada, yada. You can work on schematic things. You can coach up, and hopefully they do because they need to a little bit. But yeah, the coverage determines the run fit and how that's tied in. I don't think that ever gets talked about enough. And I saw a lot of people just kind of yelling into the ether about that this week.
And I will say, even some of those points that you just talked about, especially with the safeties and they're spinning to the post late or dropping down late, let's give some kudos to Todd Monken, the OC of the Ravens, and how he changed the pace and tempo of, their process prior to snap. There were times where they came out of huddle, quickly got up to the line of scrimmage like their army, and they ran the ball. And that is important, one, because of the crowd noise, two, because we always talk about how much of a hub, Terrell Bernard is in communication and setting that defense, setting that structure, and how that resonates and goes to the second level and the third level in coverage, and how coverage, again, determines run fits. And that whole process, and they early in drives, early downs, they were doing that, not letting the Bills set up. And it was, getting 6 yards a clip and then big chunks down the field.
Bernard, there were times where Bernard was still like calling stuff out with his mouthpiece out, and they'd snap it and he'd be like, oh, and have to put his mouthpiece in and go. And that's not because the Bills weren't ready or the Bills weren't prepared. That you tip your cap to the Ravens. That's a good job.
And everyone talked about the Cole Bishop play, blitzing from deep half of the field, and how that was like the longest blitz ever recorded or whatever. That was more good work by the Ravens. They're a good team. They're a good outfit, as what all the Bills players were saying. They're a good outfit and organization. And that was a really good wrinkle that Todd Monken threw in there in early downs to, one, take the crowd out of it, getting chunk plays and 10+ yard plays to shut the crowd up, one, but also in high leverage situations, that 3rd and 7 play where Cole Bishop got caught, disguising early in that play, and they snapped it. Now he's trying to run from, deep half field. So you also have to tip the cap to the team that you just played. And yes, there are a lot of, learning points and coaching points from this game, but that's also a really good team that I think we can agree is probably the worst matchup for the Bills across the league.
Absolutely.
And the Bills defense has to do a lot of different things, as do most defenses that play that offense, do things that are out of the ordinary for their defensive structure and philosophy. And so there are a lot of times where you're going to see Derrick Henry run and get up a lot of production against that defense and the Bills defense and other defenses, because they are unique. I just, reference Army and Navy and those type of teams. You don't see that type of, I think you call them a unicorn of an offense, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's unique and it's difficult to prepare for. And it's even more difficult when you get on the field and those players, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, are across the field from you.
Yeah. And you have like a unique structure and scheme, but then you've also got players that fit it who are also really good.
Yeah.
Like it's
Hall of
not
Fame
just,
material. Good.
yeah, it's not just like Jimmys and Joes or X's and O's. It's both for the Ravens. That's why if you're a Ravens fan, you've been this good for years and you keep shooting yourselves in the foot in big games, especially in the playoffs. Like, and you can play the concern of, well, if they meet in the playoffs again, this is going to be a struggle. Correct. It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
They're super good and they're a bad matchup for this team.
Yeah.
They
you should know that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You just got to hope that you get them before they get you. It's going to be close.
Get that 1 point more, right? 1 point more than them.
That's all you need. Take the win and and just keep it close. They'll probably hurt themselves at some point. Somebody's going to do something and you keep taking care of the ball, let them do their thing. You just kind of keep at it. But yeah, that's the recipe to beat the Ravens. They're super friggin' good. And we say it all the time, like the teams that the Bills play, they also get paid to play football. They are also good at football. They're also trying to win. And in the Ravens case, it's all of those things times 1,000. But, Jason had a really good comment earlier that I wanted to bring up. Yeah, this is really good. I feel wrapping on this.
Yeah.
He said, I love the lessons that come from stuff like this, but we still win. The best way to learn lessons and improve, you get a big W, but still feel motivated to improve. And that's a huge takeaway, right? Like
all of that. And it's week 1.
Exactly. That's it. Like even if the Bills came out and got housed in this game, it's still just week 1. Even if they house the Ravens 49-0 or whatever, it's still just week 1. And the good news is they won this game in a game where they probably should have lost and struggled in a lot of ways. They're 1-0. You get to improve and self-scout while being 1-0, while having the advantage against the team you're probably going to be competing against for the top spot in the AFC. So we'll see what happens going forward. Erik, as we start to wrap here, any parting thoughts or final words for the people?
I know we kind of glossed over the defense a little bit, but if you're interested in watching some more run fit stuff, Anthony and Disguise coverage yesterday, dropped a great show on some of the run fit stuff, the run defense stuff. And then also I did a video on Monday on Ed Oliver, the game he had. So go check out that content. And obviously tonight, Greg and Aaron on Cover One Buffalo will be recording tonight. So we really have you covered the rest of the night if you want to. If you're wanting and willing to eat up all this content from Cover One, we got you covered the rest of the night and week for that matter.
Absolutely. We appreciate you folks for joining us live for the first regular season edition of the first 2025 regular season edition of the Cover One Film. If you're watching here on YouTube, please drop a like on this video. They go a long way towards helping us to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. Turn on notifications for the Film Room playlist here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel where, Erik alluded to, we have a multitude of shows across the entire week. Didn't even mention Air Raid Hour on Monday nights. Joe DeRosa, who was previously going on Tuesdays, he records his shows offline on Thursday, drops them on Fridays. You've got Turf to Tape with Erik and Sal Capaccio. So we have a variety of content across the entire channel. So subscribe to the channel as a whole. If you're listening on one of the audio platforms, that's cool too. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And no matter where you're listening or watching or how you consume the content, if you like it, if you know Bills fans or football fans, tell them about it. Recommend the show, the channel. Word of mouth is largely a way and an avenue of how we got to be where we are and how this brand got to where it is. So we appreciate any and all aspects of help, positivity, kind words. Nice to put a bow on this game against Baltimore. The Bills are 1-0. Now you play the Jets, who have the ability to test you, have some good pieces on their offensive line. They want to mash. They still have a good defense, even though everybody kind of forgot about that. And we'll see what happens. But regardless of what happens, we will be back here again next Wednesday to break down Bills versus Jets. Yeah, that'll do it for us. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Thank you very much to Joe DeRosa for all his producer work that he does behind the scenes. We will see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.